but this year is the year I will be finishing my novel. I suffered 2 miscarriages. It's really hard to articulate what it is like. If it taught me anything last year, it's just how life is so precious and to just really appreciate everything you have. And I am so lucky and I love my family. I love my kids and I get to write. And despite all of the struggles of last year, I actually feel incredibly grateful. We're gonna reflect a little bit, set a few intentions for the new year. If you're coming into January a little bit tired, a little bit burned out, creatively or otherwise, then hi, join the club. This one's for you. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Bri. I write books. I'm currently working on my debut novel, a speculative archaeological thriller. In all honesty, I wasn't really sure I was going to make this video. I didn't have December go to plan. I should have my novel finished by now and it's not done. Did I write at all in December even? You know, it's all a bit of a blur. I know January can bring a lot of pressure, I think, and I like January. I'm somebody who is goal driven, but off the back of quite a challenging year, I want to balance being ambitious in my goals. I think it's really okay to love making new goals, love New Year's resolutions and be ambitious, but I think it's also really good if it comes from a place of like contentment and you're able to be gentle with yourself when you need to cut yourself some slack, if that makes sense. I think there's a lot of chat around either be gentle with yourself, like we're supposed to be wintering, don't set any goals, fine if you don't want to, and then there's a lot of like hard hustle culture, do more, work harder or you'll never get there. And I think we need to hold space for both, and the times when it's appropriate to say I've not been writing. In my case, for example, I did need some time. I really needed some time off, but I'm now moving into a point where the habits are all broken and there's a lot of like procrastination and some laziness coming through. I could be writing. Being gentle with myself could start to become an excuse, right? So I think like we can hold space for the two different things and just bear in mind everybody is in a different place. So we're gonna reflect a little bit on writing from last year, set a few intentions for the new year. And for me, 2025 was a really hard year personally. And so I'm proud that I managed to get my novel to 60,000 words, and I've got a place on the Jericho Writers Ultimate Novel Writing course, which starts in April this year. And I am trying to celebrate that as an achievement, even though I failed NaNoWriMo, I didn't add the 50,000 words to my manuscript that I wanted, and I didn't, you know, complete a first draft, which was my intention. I ended up burned out, I think. I have loved being on YouTube for accountability and the community, and it has really motivated me. At the same time, it is, of course, something else to be doing and can be a bit of a distraction from writing at times. If I'm doing this, I'm not writing, right? I think feeling like I wanted to do it and do it better made me feel like there was some pressure, and I've had to kind of step back again. I've had a couple of weeks off and just be like, you know what, I'm just going to carry on doing it for the fun of it and not worry about like that, not add some pressure where there doesn't need to be. And I had to kind of forgive myself for taking a lot of time off in December. In 2025, I suffered 2 miscarriages, and I think that has, I think people understand that that's a really huge thing, but especially the second one, you know, the first one really hit me, and it was a big struggle. I think the second one, I thought I was going to bounce back quicker, and I think I kind of repressed a lot, and I think it took a while to move through those. And obviously, you know, grief is what it is, and it's like complicated, and you know, we've also navigated many other things in that year, and it's been a couple of years of losing both my grandparents. My brother-in-law got a leukemia diagnosis and had to undergo treatment, and you know, they have a young child. My kids starting school, and there's just been a lot going on. I think between that and pressuring myself creatively, and also my ADHD, which does mean that I can tend towards spates of things and then burn out. And then obviously, actually, I also ran the London Marathon, and then I ran 2 ultra marathons to like mark and sort of honor the miscarriages and help me process them. So a lot's going on. And yeah, I think it's okay to accept I didn't get where I wanted to, but this year is the year I will be finishing my novel. And despite all of the struggles of last year, I actually feel incredibly grateful. I think my heart goes out to anybody who has been through miscarriage, because it's really hard to articulate what it is like. But I have my 2 girls who are 5 and 2.5, and if it taught me anything last year, it's just how life is so precious, and to just really appreciate everything you have. And I am so lucky, and I love my family, I love my kids, and I get to write, and life is short, and we just need to really be intentional, I think. And so despite everything and the struggles and the burnout, and yes, it's meant that I've not hit some goals, whatever, I am really grateful, and my intention is to really carry that forward into 2026. I would like to prioritize creativity this year. I would like to prioritize finishing my novel by the end of February. I'm a bit nervous that I'm putting this on the internet, because now it feels like I can't not do it, but I want it done in first draft form before I start the Jericho Writers course, because then I'll be going to sort of revisit and rewrite and redraft and work on it again with fresh eyes. So that is the current sort of major writing plan. However, over December, yes, I didn't write, but we went to Glastonbury for Christmas to see family, and my husband's family are sort of around that. And I loved Glastonbury as a teenager when I had my little Wicca phase. I think I discovered it in a teen magazine, and it's the perfect place to invent a new magic system, and that is what I did. And I now have an idea for some more novels that I would like to write, and I felt very inspired. So there are some like little creativity sparks going off. I don't want to set hard goals around it. I think what we really need to do is get this first novel written, then rewritten over the course of this Jericho Writers course, which is a year, and try and get it to a place that I am happy with. In that time, if for fun, I want to tinker and kind of flirt with these new ideas that I have, then maybe I will, and I will kind of do that. But I don't want to make that like a hard defined goal, if that makes sense. That is pretty much my writing plan. In terms of reading plans, we have a bit of a situation. My to be read pile is obviously enormous and always growing, as is everybody's, right? Like, if you're a book lover, we accept that them's the breaks. But I accidentally, after having loved Brandon Sanderson's writing lecture series, adored, listened to it multiple times on runs and stuff. Don't know why it took me so long to pick up his books, but basically I started the Mistborn trilogy. This is the second one, and because of various lifetime constraints, I'm not quite done yet. You can see I've got this little bit to go, and I love it. Like, I don't think I've been this excited about a series since I was a kid and reading Harry Potter, or like a teenager and reading David Eddings' Belgariad and Malloreon series. I'm really enjoying it. It's so fun, and obviously, as you do, it's meant that I've gone down a Brandon Sanderson rabbit hole. Now, my poor little to be read pile is looking at me mournfully like, can I come back, please? And Brandon Sanderson's COSMERE is like, no, I've got to navigate the COSMERE. So my plan for any Sanderson fans, I'm going to do it. And I know, please don't come at me, no hate. I know there are so many opinions about the order you should do the COSMERE books, but I want to do Mistborn 1 trilogy. So Final Empire, Well of Ascension. The final title escapes me, but it's coming up next. So I'm going to do Mistborn Trilogy 1, original OG Mistborn. And then I would like to do Elantris, his first novel, don't come at me. And then I would like to do Warbreaker. And then I would like to do the second sort of new era Mistborn trilogy, and then I will go to Stormlight Archive. And the reason I'm doing it that way is because I kind of love how Brandon Sanderson is apparently like the Taylor Swift of fantasy writers. any Taylor Swift haters, please don't come at me either. Because the Easter eggs and like crossovers in the Stormlight Archive series apparently are just so much more enjoyable if you have actually like properly read as much of the rest of the COSMERE as possible, right? And so I wanted to have the rest of that in the bank before I move on to Stormlight Archive. And the reason I started with Mistborn, because a lot of people said start with Mistborn, it's like the easiest place to start, and I did. I made a tiny mistake. I made a short one here where I was like, is it me or is it slow to get into? Ignore me. That was just mum brain who hadn't read like epic fantasy for many years, and I think just like learning a new magic system, just ignore me. I must have been sleep deprived. And I retracted that. I posted another video and I was like, oh my god, I was so wrong. I love this. So easy to get into, so fantastic. Pacing, character, plot, I adore. Actually, yeah, like his pacing for me is one of the things that has meant that even though the kids constantly interrupt me and I don't get a ton of time to read anymore, it's kept me going back and just taking it with me when I go to like school pickup and like reading, waiting at the school gates and stuff. He's just a master, I think, of like that kind of keeping it pacey and engaging and keeping it moving and making you want to turn the page without that kind of weird adrenal fatigue that you get with Dan Brown, where it's just done so clumsily and it feels like a bit of a, like, Dan Brown's almost like clickbaity, isn't he? Whereas, yeah, I feel like Sanderson is such a master of the craft. Sorry, we've gone off on a Sanderson tangent. But anyway, so yes, I started with Mistborn, and then I know that maybe Elantris and Warbreaker for some, it's not the way to go. I want to do Elantris and Warbreaker. Apparently the kind of philosophical bent of them, it really appeals to me, and it's just the way I've decided to do it. If you're a Sanderson fan, let me know your favourites and the order that you recommend. And if you're interested in like some sort of more craft related chat, and we've just spoken a little bit about his pacing, I actually kind of break down Dan Brown. I did an analysis of one of his bestsellers, The Secret of Secrets, the new one, versus Robert Galbraith, J.K. Rowling. Which one did I do? The Hallmark Man, that kind of slow versus fast, and there's a cheat sheet in that, is what I was trying to say. If you want the kind of like craft cheat sheet of how to control pacing in your stories and what you can learn from each of those writers, I found it really useful kind of analysing them and taking little tips for things that I do and don't like and want to use and not use in my writing. So what was really nice for me in 2025, that wasn't a specific writing goal, but it's just something that I was doing kind of to keep the motivation ticking along, you know, but also I'm trying to figure out how my ideal writing routine situation looks, was trying different authors' writing routines. And I I did enjoy both of the videos that I've shared so far. So I did Haruki Murakami's writing routine, which is quite intense. 4 a.m. start, not the one. If you want to see that, then have a look at that video. But what I did really love was the kind of Tolkien one that I did. Obviously I have a soft spot for fantasy, and for this kind of like coziness, I kind of need that in my life. Since becoming a mum, I've lost the kind of more melancholy bent of my youth, and also like the kind of hardcore intenseness, and I just want rest and comfort and cozy. And so his kind of gentler approach was quite nice for me. And anyway, my point is, trying different people's writing routines is a really nice way for my ADHD brain to like find novelty and tick something off, and then I get to experiment and, you know, try new things and see what works and what doesn't, basically. And so I would like to do some more of that this year. I have some people in mind that I'm really excited about, and yeah, if they're any good, I will share the routines with you guys, because I know that even if you're not always trying them yourself, sometimes it's quite fun to watch other people try them. So that is definitely a goal for this year too. One thing I am also going to do, I think, is I've acknowledged before that I hit a bit of a slump kind of post NaNo with that failure, and I have been thinking, I stand by my previous tried and tested little and often building a daily writing habit. That has worked for me. And I think it can be a lot less intimidating than thinking you have to sit down for a 3-hour writing session. That's not feasible for many of us. You know, you're juggling kids, maybe you're juggling careers, whatever it is. I stand by that. But that said, one of the things I did learn from failing NaNoWriMo, which you can see in my like lessons learned video if you want to see all of that, is my ADHD brain loves like a challenge and novelty, and I kind of need the dopamine hits, but sustaining that over a month, maybe it's not the right way to structure a challenge for me. And I really love AK Mulford's YouTube channel. I'll link her below. And I'm excited. Her books are now added to my TBR pile. I would like to try something that she does. And she speaks a lot about like ADHD hacks for writers and how she manages. And she's a full-time author, and she's both traditionally and self-published. And she does a 30K in 3 days challenge. There's a whole Discord server and like a workbook. And they're a really cool, like, the idea is that it's a challenge that like you can hook onto for the dopamine. And yes, it's quite a big word count, but you only have to do it for 3 days. And so it kind of like pushes you. You are much more likely to do it. I can see that working for my weird ADHD brain potentially, and also because, you know, I run marathons and ultra marathons, and it kind of feels a little bit like that. And in the workbook there, you can like color in where on the map you've moved depending on your word count. She has all these hacks about like how you reward yourself to kind of give you this dopamine. There's also like merch and like little stickers and cool treats you can get yourself as well if you want to. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, and I'm sorry, but blame January brain. But I really like the idea, and I appreciate this is a complete U-turn from like, oh, you can just do like 200 words a day if you want to. But I just want to try something new to try and help me get the novel over the line. I'm thinking there are probably about 40,000 more words that I need to do. I know that AK Mulford, like in her workbook, you can kind of do the same challenge but with lower word counts, right? Like if you're not in a place where you could hit 10K days. Like because of my childcare situation, I only have a childminder for my youngest 2 days a week, and so she's with me the rest of the time. It is highly unlikely that I can get more than 2 days in a row of writing like big chunks, right? Only on her childminder days. And so those could maybe be 10K days. I don't know if I'm capable, but we'll see. 30K in 3 days isn't feasible, or if I do it, they won't be consecutive, but that's fine. You adapt it for you. And she also suggests, I think there's like a timer thing where she suggests like do a couple of Pomodoro sprints and see what you end up with, and you can kind of calculate from that what is realistic, because the whole point of this is not to set an insurmountable goal. It's supposed to be a stretch, but not like impossible. Anyway, on the theme of goal setting, so I guess, you know, yeah, I'm saying I want to finish my novel. I've got some writer routines that I want to explore. The reading goals as well. I've got a big to-be read pile, and I want to navigate the COSMERE, so we'll see where that takes me. Running wise, I am meant to be running Newport Marathon. When I ran London last year, the goal was to do it in sub 4 hours, but I got injured in the weeks just before, and also my heart rate was inexplicably sky high, and then it turned out I tested for pregnancy, and it was negative, but it was obviously a bit early, because actually it turned out like the day after the marathon, and I still hadn't had my period, and I was like, what's going on? And then I was pregnant, and that explained the high heart rate, and also why it was harder for me to run at the pace I was used to. So I didn't get my marathon goal, and Newport was something I signed up to with the hope of getting sub 4 again, but I actually think I'm going to be gentle on myself and just enjoy training, enjoy the distance, and just run it. And then I might also do Race to the Stones 50K Ultra, just for the beautiful countryside and views. But my other like creative outlet is generally crochet. This isn't my best work, I'm sorry, but I'm just sort of I've only just learned granny squares, and I would like to do more like crochet projects for the kids, and it brings me so much joy, and I find it a really nice way to like untangle plots in my head. I think I mentioned in the Tolkien video actually why I feel like it complements writing so nicely. I actually originally learned it just to make my kids, like I wanted to make them a cuddly and a water bottle holder, and I'd seen that one of the nannies who does school pickup, one of my daughter's friends, had done it, and I was like, wow, is that really hard? And she was like, no, YouTube. So I did that, and then I actually kind of just fell in love with how meditative it is. I love that it's like a handcraft that actually AI cannot do it, machines cannot do it. It's the, like, knitting can be replicated by machine, like knitwear can be mass produced by machine, right? But crochet still cannot. You get fake crochet where like it's actually been done by knit and they just try to like make it look like crochet, but you can't do crochet stitches by the machine. And I tried to find out why, because I was like, why not? Machines can do so much, but it's too complex with the way that like the angles or something. Anyway, I digress, you don't care. But I kind of fell in love with like this kind of going against intense pressure all the time, capitalism. Like it kind of complements with like slow intentional living and being more eco-friendly and green. So good God, we have meandered all over the place. This is not a very structured goals video. I hope this has been useful and interesting. I think my final thing is just I want to be a lot more like slow and intentional about the way we live this year. And although I wasn't writing after Christmas, I did spend some time with my husband decluttering, which is completely out of character. Any other fellow ADHDers will know what doom piles are, I'm sure, and we've tried to implement some systems so that I can have a space that isn't a total mess and feel a bit better. And I do think it's helping me creatively. I think clutter and just mess is overwhelming, but my executive function does not. Plus my general disinterest in housework means that I struggle. And so having implemented those systems, like simple things, also to reduce decision fatigue, right? I know that my goal, I always want to like do this routine of one load of laundry a day, do the dishes, like as in unload the dishwasher, I'm not doing it by hand, and one deep cleaning task a day, and then like it's done and I don't have to think about it. And then that frees me up. Also, while I do those things mindlessly, I can be like thinking about the book, but it's freed up so much mental space instead of like letting everything get really bad and then having to build up all this energy to like do something about it, by which point I feel drained, burned out, can't write. So I think like, yeah, I'll have more time for my writing and my cozy crochet hobby, and I think it's going to be good. If you are similar in that you're struggling to get back into things, you maybe need to break out of a slump. I'm hoping doing the AK Morpher challenge will break me out of mine. If you need to just get back into the year, it's not just you. And I'd encourage you not to look at people who are like, yeah, gunning for it. I just think like we can ease ourselves back in. Let's hold hands and like take a difficult step together. I think a challenge or just doing something alongside either a writer friend in real life, or if like me you don't have any real life writer friends, then you guys on the internet, like I find it really helpful, the community here. We'll get this done. Yeah, I apologize for the very long and very rambly video. We're gonna have a good year. I would recommend, actually, I recently read Radically Content by Jamie, is it Varon? It's non-fiction. It's kind of like, I guess it's personal development, self-growth, not my usual sort of reading area. But I really love this idea of like being content and allowing yourself to be content with where you are right now, even if, right, you haven't got the best-selling book, you haven't got an agent, you haven't finished your manuscript, you haven't won the writing fellowship you want, whatever it is. You can be content with where you are, but that also doesn't mean not striving for things. So I think it's like this kind of acceptance and enjoyment of how things are. And from that place, then pursuing our goals, so that then, you know, if we fail, it's not your whole identity and your whole life that's upended because, you know, tragedy struck and you didn't get the goal. It's like, oh, well, that's okay. I'm happy here. That's fine. Maybe I just strive for a different thing, or I try again, or I try a new way. But I found it a really lovely perspective, and her writing, it's just like a big hug. And so if you need something to help you ease into January, I really, really recommend that as a kind of like soft, fluffy way to step forward. So please let me know your writing goals, even if like you don't want to be too specific. Just, I think sometimes putting it out there can really help us get going. Drop me a cozy emoji that kind of shows how you're gonna either refill your creative well or just like take care of yourself this January, because I think that's really important too. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.